Hello again everyone. It's time to carry on with the work to paint this helmet for Chaz. Well now the idea is that it's a helmet to go with Chaz's new bike. And Chaz's bike is a Kawasaki 900 and I really wanted to put something related to Kawasaki on the helmet. And what I've chosen to put on is their new logo, which is the river mark. Now the Kawasaki river mark is a kind of version of the Japanese symbol that means river. Now the river mark was first used on the ships of the Kawasaki Tsukiji Shipyard Company. And that later became Kawasaki Heavy Industries in 1878, and they also used the river mark as their logo. And they concentrated mainly on shipbuilding. Over the years, Kawasaki have been involved in all sorts of engineering really, steam trains, civil engineering, aircraft. And throughout their sort of company history, they've occasionally used the river mark. In particular, it was used on the sort of the supercharged Ninja bikes, the H2 and the H2S, I think they were. So there is a bit of history for using this symbol in relation to motorcycles. And then in 2021, Kawasaki announced they were adopting this logo sort of formally as their sort of corporate identity symbol, if you like. So it's combined sort of bang up to date and also historic sort of symbol. So I quite like it, and I think we're going to use this symbol on Chaz's helmet. Now I've printed off, obviously there's two, and they go this way up. But I printed them off rather too big, so I'm going to have a go at printing them off a little bit smaller to be more the size I need to put on the helmet. Well, it's a couple of days later and I've been mucking around trying to print off that logo at about the right size for the helmet. And I think I've hit on about the right sort of thing. Yeah, I think this sort of size will be about right for the type of design I am considering. So let's go ahead and we'll mask up this helmet again. Now, because I've probably been touching that quite a lot and I might have left some greasy fingerprints on it, I'm going to go and get my arse wipe out of the garage again to give it another going over. Right, now I want to transfer these designs onto this hypermask. I'm going to do that by cutting out a piece slightly smaller than the piece of hypermask and taping it all to the cutting mat and then just cutting through the whole lot. See how that works. Well, the next thing to do really is to get these river mark symbols nicely positioned and stuck to the helmet. So what I'm hoping to do is to get each mark located sort of there-ish. Now I've got a tape measure I can use to help me position them, but I could use the rivet and the line here in the moulding of the helmet to guide me in positioning them, because obviously I want to get it the same each side. Well, that was super fiddly, but I think I've got them more or less in the right place. I'm going to have a go now at setting out the tape, and I'm going to start by making a centre line down the middle of the helmet I can remove perhaps later. And I wanted to have like a central panel and two side panels, and maybe some small panels on those bits just below the ears. So I'm not entirely sure how it will take shape, but let's try and do something along those lines now. Well, I haven't got the tape on. I'm thinking these river mark symbols might be better a bit high up and central in these panels a little bit more. So I'm going to have a go at moving them up a bit. It's a bit of a faff, but let's have a go, see how we get on. Thing is going to be to spray the black on, and I'm going to have to mask up the bits that I don't want the black to get onto, so I'm going to do that with some newspaper and some masking tape. So the plan is to paint everything that's not masked up on there black, and I'm going to use the airbrush and just some airbrush paint to do that because it's not a massive area now. So yeah, let's get it set up and apply some black to this. Right, well that's the black pretty much done. I'm going to let that harden up. I'm going to have a cup of tea and maybe a biscuit, and then we'll press on with more of the design. Now the original idea, you might remember, was to match up with the yellow on Chaz's bike, but we can't find the paint code for that, and yeah, it's going to be quite difficult to get an exact match without the bike in front of me, just photos and no paint code or anything. So with this candy design, I can layer the candy and get sort of lighter or darker depending on how I think it's sort of matching up. And because the design is quite complex, I don't think we really have to get a complete exact match for it to look right when Chaz is wearing the helmet with the bike. Well, that's my theory anyway. Let's see how we go. I've got some Candy 2.0 Ttxela yellow to try out on this. Well, I've printed out a photo of Chaz's bike and I'll put it up there just to compare the two. As I say, I'm not expecting to match it exactly, and also of course by the time the camera's taken the photo, it's been emailed across and I've printed it out, we're probably miles away from the original colour anyway. I've also had my tea, so this should have hardened up a little bit. What I'm going to do, I'm going to do one panel at a time and probably complete each panel as I go, maybe. I think that's what I'm going to do anyway. Or shall I? Yeah, I think that's what I'll do. Yeah, I may change my mind. But anyway, let's get some of that newspaper off and maybe mask up ready for spraying some of this Ttxela yellow. Right, let's hit this with some of that candy then. Right, well, given that a little while to harden up, I've actually been to the co-op and bought some ice creams. It's absolutely sweltering today. But now I'm going to peg the lace over this and we'll add the black to give that lace pattern. Right, now let's add the black. Right, I'll leave that for a few minutes again just to harden up a little bit before I move this lace. Well, let's take it off and have a look. finished yet. What I want to do is add a little sort of drop shadow. So I'll get back to the black and just angle the airbrush so we get as if the light's coming from that way and that's recessed a little bit. And I'll also go and put a little bit of a shadow around the river symbol, which is quite hard to see now, but in certain light you can spot where that is. Right, now the next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to give that a few seconds to harden up, then I'm going to remove this finer tape here and just give that a going over with the candy again to give myself a candy pinstripe, a yellow candy pinstripe round this sort of panel. So I have a silver and a yellow line. The very last thing I'm going to do, because I want it to stay silvery, is to remove that river symbol masking. And now I'll remove all this masking I put on before I did the candy. So there you go. Hopefully you can see my sort of vision for this beginning to take shape. Whether you like it or not, I don't know, but yeah, what I've got to do now, I suppose, really is exactly the same as I've just done all that process to the other side. There we go. Now we've got both sides hopefully more or less the same. The next bits I'm going to do are these cheek bits. So first thing is to remove the masking tape on both sides, I think we'll do, and then I'll give that a coat in that yellow candy. We will of course need to do a little bit of masking just to make sure we don't spray over the bits that we want to keep silver on the other part. Chaz likes the fish scale effect that I did on a panel before and ended up giving to Chaz. So I'm going to do that on these lower panels, and I've got the same shield that I used to do that previous panel. So yeah, let's do that. And now we can take the tape off those bits. Now for the top of the helmet, I'm going to try something I've not done before. I've seen it done before where you put lines of tape across and you remove one in every 5, spray the candy, then you move the next one, and then the next one, and the next one, and the next one. And because the candy colour builds up in grades, that gives a sort of striped effect. So I'm going to try. That's what I'm going to try anyway. Let's give it a go. Right, now in theory, all I have to do is remove every 5th bit of tape, do the candy, then move the next one, do the candy, next one, do the candy, and so on until I'm done. Let's see how that works out. Well, there we go. I'm rather pleased with that effect. It's quite subtle, but yeah, quite pleasing, I think. Right, back to the black then, and I'll just put a shadow line around there. And then I'll take off the tape, or the inner fine line tape, and then just a last bit of candy around there to give that a nice yellow sort of pinstripe line. Well, there we go. I reckon I can take all the rest of the masking off now. Apart from the masking around the bits of the helmet that we didn't want to paint, the liner and such. Well, that is about it, I think, for tonight. It's pretty much ready for clear coat, so the next time you see me, we should be applying some clear lacquer to this.